What if someone told you that the city you live in or your country will be underwater in the near future? Would you pack up your bags and leave for a new country that is guaranteed to stay on Earth? Or will you stay and fight for your country and hope that the stats are wrong? If so, you're not alone. Many seasoned scientists are also skeptical about these predictions and call BS on the fear-mongering. But today we'll share with you which beautiful islands are now undeniably under threat for real disaster and possible disappearance from the face of the Earth in the not-so-far future. And stay tuned to the end of the video to see one island nation already evacuating its citizens and leaving behind the sinking country. But before we start, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our videos that we upload 3 days a week. According to studies, Earth is now the warmest it's ever been in recorded history, and the last 19 years have been the warmest on record. And concentration of carbon dioxide, a potent greenhouse gas, is also at its highest. The consequences of such a globally disrupted climate are so many. Among them is flooding. Many countries around the globe are facing repeated flooding, causing humanitarian crisis, leaving thousands homeless each year. And scientists warn, without ambitious global warming mitigation efforts, the world temperature will rise in alarming rates with catastrophic consequences for the whole planet. Cook Islands. This nation in the South Pacific, with its 15 islands scattered over a vast area, is now under threat of being completely flooded by its water and disappear under the ocean for good. The islands, known for its stunning lagoons surrounded by coral reefs and sandy islets, is a famous destination among tourists. And is described as like Hawaii was 50 years ago, to show how untouched the nature is in this island. Unfortunately, rising sea levels are threatening the very existence of this place. An increase in ocean levels by 55 centimeters, the rising water is expected to damage roads, bridges, ports, runways, which will affect the residents and probably force them to relocate and seek a whole new place to call home, as their livelihoods will be directly affected by the change and even find the islands completely uninhabitable. French Polynesia. Home to the popular tropical retreats like Bora Bora, Tahiti, and Society Islands, French Polynesia is on many travelers' bucket list. Moss green peaks and lined with vivid turquoise lagoons, the islands are indeed beyond anybody's standard of beauty, and are more spectacular in person than in any poster or photograph. Sadly, these mythical islands will disappear underwater, and 30% of its islands will be overtaken by the ocean in just the next 90 years. The government, as an alternative to moving to a new country, is considering building floating islands near Tahiti with hopes to attract tech companies to the concept. If successful, it will save the inhabitants from having to flee their sinking homes in the coming decades. This project will be groundbreaking, and many other nations with similar dilemma are considering the possibility of man-made islands coming to life, so they don't have to abandon their homes and subsequently their history and identity. It's a fear of so many people that aside from the loss of land and biodiversity, unique customs and rich cultures of these island societies will be extinct as a result of this natural disaster. Tell us what you think about the Floating Islands project in the comment section below, and also tell us if you would be comfortable living in a man-made island. Seychelles. The Seychelles are a group of 115 breathtaking islands in the Indian Ocean. This almost magical place has often been compared with the Garden of Eden. Dozens of the coral outer islands are uninhabited, and the rest of the island, which attracts thousands of tourists every month and contributes to 25% of its GDP, are now just years away from sinking and disappearing underwater. The Seychelles are expecting an unprecedented rise in sea levels compared to the past, and with over 85% of the country's development sitting on coastlines, rising sea levels can be catastrophic. Scientists also warn that just a 1-meter rise could cover most of the inhabited coastal areas, which would result in loss of 70% of its landmass. This will also mean the death of corals, resulting in so much erosion and steady rise in sea levels, which will simply drown everything. It's simply terrifying when you realize that areas that were covered with trees are now beaches toppled by the ever-advancing waves. Tuvalu. An independent island nation within the British Commonwealth and a population of only 10,000 people, is believed to be one of the most vulnerable places on Earth to the impact of rising sea levels. This country of 9 tiny islands is long seen as the prime candidate to disappear, as climate change forces up sea levels and reportedly will end up uninhabitable by 2050. But some controversial studies have in recent years shown that 3/4 of the islands grew in size, challenging the assumption that low-lying island nations would be swamped as the sea rose. But many argue that this kind of studies could give false hope to the people and their governments and may even pose as a problem in this unpredictable part of the earth. Fiji. Fiji is an archipelago of more than 300 islands and another one of these gorgeous pieces of land that are slowly being eaten away until their residents will be forced to evacuate. But this may be even sooner, as not only are the islands at a threat of disappearing into the ocean, but residents are threatened by loss of fresh water and agriculture long before their homes sink. Most islands are low and remote, and the water is rising in an alarming rate, enough to wipe most of these remote islands. And while temperature rise and storms strengthen, coastal residents have to choose to live or fight. Surprisingly, many are resilient and want to fight back. Eventually, they'll have to leave their whole lives behind as nature continues its course. Micronesia. Laying just above the equator, this country has 607 islands located 2,500 miles southwest of Hawaii in the Pacific Ocean. This nation has seen several islands disappear within recent memory, while others have been severely reduced in size. There are even reports of people being awakened by 1 to 3 feet of water in their houses. The threat of flooding is constant, and other related issues connected to rising water makes life very hard in this seemingly perfect place. Micronesia's lost islands were not small in size. That is why this dangerous trend is sending shocks across the world, especially to the countries that are already vulnerable and other nations that are continuously pointed out as being contributors to this disaster through their irresponsible ways. The fact that huge islands are disappearing this quick is not a natural process. It is somewhat a design tragedy when you think about that greedy countries are stopping any meaningful movement to curb this catastrophe. Palau. In Palau, residents are already saying that it's common for their yards to flood during some full moon high tides and are considering moving to a new country. The island's biodiversity have shown significant decrease, and many species, including the stinging jellyfish, are disappearing, which locals believe is a sign that their island is coming to its end. Palau has 20,000 citizens that are currently uncertain of their future and are constantly asking for updates on the physical condition of their nation and demanding a clear and honest opinion from their government regarding what's awaiting them and their children. While for most of the world, climate change and rising sea levels are about future threats, for these islands, they are their current and immediate survival issues. Maldives. This very popular and breathtakingly beautiful island is an archipelago in the Indian Ocean that's home to many lush resorts and even a variety of underwater hotels that are slowly being covered by the ocean. And with current projections of sea level rise, it's not far before the entire country with its gorgeous beaches will be completely underwater in just 30 years. It comes as no big surprise, as the Maldives has the lowest elevation in the world. But climate change of historic proportion seems to be speeding up this horrible ending. We hope we haven't scared you too much. There's plenty of time before these islands disappear into the ocean, giving us all enough time to go visit these gorgeous beaches and their breathtaking scenery one last time. And who knows, maybe the tech company could succeed in making those floating islands a reality, and we may not need to say goodbye to our favorite holiday islands. But it may be a little too late for this island that is already being abandoned by its citizens. This is the island of Kiribati. This one, unlike the others, has already started the process of becoming one with the sea. There's a plan to move everyone who lives on this island in the coming few years. Coastal erosion and freshwater contamination have already altered the lives of Kiribati's 110,000 citizens that will be relocated elsewhere. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and hit that bell button to be notified whenever we upload a new video, and thanks for watching.